Good afternoon, good morning, good morning everybody. Welcome to Weatherghost Live on the 16th of August 2025. We are monitoring Major Hurricane Erin, which has now become our first major hurricane obviously, and a very powerful Category 4 hurricane located in the Atlantic Ocean just to the north of the Lesser Antilles. It's a very powerful tropical cyclone and a very quickly intensifying one. Has gone up from Category 1 hurricane to a Category 4 inside at least 24 hours. So we are seeing a tropical cyclone that is rapidly intensifying as we speak right now. And thanks for joining me today. We will be monitoring Erin for a couple hours, 2 to 3 hours, I believe, and then we will have another video update tomorrow to talk to you about Erin in major details. So, first of all, if you're new to this channel, please subscribe, and if you are new to the channel, then please stay and continue to enjoy this content. So, we will obviously be continuing to track Erin and also possibly some other system in the Atlantic Ocean. It's a busy time in the Atlantic hurricane season. It's common that we are tracking multiple systems at once, but in general the main story will be focusing on Erin, as it's a very powerful tropical cyclone. So obviously we are seeing a Category 4 hurricane, but the good news is the impacts to land is going to be kept quite marginal or minimal. Even we're expecting some obviously heavy rainfall at the Lesser Antilles, that is the Leeward Islands and Puerto Rico. We also expect increase in wave height, including obviously the northern part of the Leeward Islands and Puerto Rico, possibly stretching towards the other parts of the Greater Antilles. That could include the DR and Haiti. It could also stretch to the Bahamas, Turks and Caicos, and pretty much the majority of the eastern seaboard of the United States could see some rise in wave heights in the next couple of days, especially as we enter next week. In general, Erin is going to bring heavy rainfall towards the Leeward Islands and Puerto Rico this weekend, and then after that it's going to move away from those islands. Then it's going to turn northwest, moving across the Atlantic Ocean, whilst gaining much more latitude as the region from the high pressure area weakens, and then it's going to increase the wave heights along the eastern coast of the US, and then it will gradually weaken. I believe it will peak inside the next 24 to 36 hours. It could also undergo eyewall replacement, as usually these stronger tropical cyclones will do in normal cases. We're currently expecting a peak of 155 miles per hour. That's only 5 miles per hour away from Category 5 status, and there is definitely a chance for Cat 5 from Erin because it's continuing to intensify rapidly, and the condition ahead of it also looks relatively decent. High sea surface temperature, low wind shear and increasing humidity has been fueling this system for quite a while, and it could continue to do that in the next few days, at least 1 to 2 days. So look at the wind rating. To be honest, you can see the northern portion of the system has much of the stronger winds. The tropical storm force wind towards the north is probably stretches about 2 times more than it stretches towards the south. That is good, because that means the most of the strong winds going to be kept in the ocean, because the Leeward Islands and Puerto Rico is located towards the south of the system, and that's why we probably wouldn't be seeing too strong of in terms of winds in those places, but we could also see some rainfall, obviously we have mentioned earlier, and you can see those hurricane force winds actually surprisingly stretches that small. The distance that it stretches is so low that it's pretty much has 0% chance of affecting any land at this point. And let's look at the location right now. It's located probably directly above Anguilla, Barbuda and Antigua, etc. It's located towards the east of Turks and Caicos. As mentioned earlier, it's off land, so nothing really is expected to happen to any land in this case. And let me just post my live stream on Twitter so that more people can join us. This is the wind forecast of Erin. I mean, look at that. It's gonna really expand in size in the next few days after it enters the northern portion of the Atlantic Ocean. Look at that. Another system expected to form and then probably enter the Gulf of Mexico next week. We'll be also watching that one later on. Obviously we're still watching Erin. Some of that stronger winds could just pass by Puerto Rico and the Leeward Islands. So maybe some areas around the coastline will have stronger gusts and stronger sustained winds, probably just below tropical storm force wind, because as we mentioned earlier, the tropical storm force wind radius is way too small to even be stretching towards these places. Let's look at the rainfall forecast. Most of the strongest rainfall is going to be kept offshore, but we could be seeing a stronger rainfall to occur across the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico and Leeward Islands, and here in the next 300 hours. I believe that's the another potential system bringing strong rainfall across the Greater Antilles, but that's obviously not going to be coming from Erin. That's probably another system. But look at that. The main effect of Erin in the next 126 hours, we could be seeing around the maximum of around 2 inches of rain across the Greater Antilles and the Leeward Islands. In the next 48 hours probably be the time when all these rain drops, and after that it will probably be having lighter rain showers. So in general, it could cause some localized flooding. Rain could even be higher in isolated mountainous terrain, so we've got to be watching out for that. And this is what we're talking about, the waves. Look at all those waves that's going to be moving into the eastern coast of the USA. That's obviously going to be pretty strong. And because Erin expanded in size, those waves going to travel further away from the center, and the area it affects is going to be much greater than what it does now. Although right now it's still expecting around 1 to 2 meters of waves for Puerto Rico or Haiti and Dominican Republic, but in general it wouldn't be high. That it wouldn't be too high. That makes it devastating. And look at the models. Half of them is actually calling for a Category 5 hurricane, and so I might have to change my forecast to shift it to a Cat 5 prediction, because this is one of the probably strongest tropical cyclones this season. Probably Category 5 expected by half of these models, so it's gonna be a chance. There has to be a chance of it becoming Category 5 hurricane. And we should be very grateful that this thing is currently staying absolutely offshore at the moment. So after about 24 hours, it will peak and it will begin weakening. I think it will also, when it goes through the potential hour replacement, it will also have fluctuation of the intensity. Let's look at the National Hurricane Center cone. You can see they expect Erin to remain as a major hurricane for the majority of the weekend and next week, and by Thursday it could become a Cat 2 again. But National Hurricane Center expecting a very, very powerful. They're currently forecasting a peak of 150 miles per hour, which is higher in Category 4. They have also issued Tropical Storm Watch for St. Martin and St. Bartholomew. that's how you read it, and St. Martin. That's a really small portion of land having that in effect. I don't think Troublesome Force will get there. It's just a possibility at the moment. So this is the Troublesome wind probability. You can see most areas are now kept below 15%. It's around 5 to 10%. A bit higher in the eastern side of the Bahamas. And then for the Bermuda, look at that. It's gone up to, I think that's about 20% to 25%. With the storm's most vigorous impact on land this time probably will be towards Bermuda. By the means vigorous, it means relatively stronger impacts. Well, hopefully it wouldn't be too significant to Bermuda, because you know it's obviously a really tiny piece of land. If it's such a big hurricane is going to have direct impacts on that place, it's going to be really bad. And let's look at the latest aircraft reconnaissance. You can see 935 millibars minimum pressure. That's the latest hurricane hunters have recorded. And look at all those purple arrows. It's mainly concentrated towards the north of the system. To the south, there really isn't any strong winds as strong as the ones that's in the north. And that's good because obviously we have all those islands, nations, Puerto Rico, Leeward Islands towards the south of the system, which means the strong winds isn't really going to affect those places. And that's really good. That's absolutely what we want in this scenario. So we will be keeping track of the system continuously. And now we will be taking questions from the chat room. We are waiting for some more updates on this storm. So at the moment, nothing really has to be talked about. hopefully so 9:10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Continuing to track Hurricane Erin here. So if you are interested in having any discussion, you can put it in the chat room. We'll keep you updated on the system, obviously. It's a very powerful hurricane. Look at all these models, they're actually, you know, calling for category 5 hurricanes, some of them, actually quite a few of them, almost half. And they're expecting the peak intensity to be inside the next 18 to 24 hour-ish. And then it will begin weakening, but not in a tremendous pace, probably as a gradual process, you know, by 2 or 3 days later, it could still be a category 4 hurricane according to these computer models. So if we are like, if we have to look at when it's going to lose major hurricane status, it could be around after 3 to 4 days. So that is really going to be quite a long-lasting hurricane, to say the least. Look at the National Hurricane Center cone. Sorry, you can see just they're expecting that curved track we've been talking about for ages is going to be shifting more towards the north starting from tomorrow. In fact, it's going to be brushing off to the eastern side of the Bahamas, a couple hundred miles away from there. And because of its small wind field for the majority of the next 2 days, it's not going to have too much impact on land. But as we enter next week, it's going to have a expanding larger wind field that's going to again push more waves and possibly rainfall, some rainfall towards the coastline, but it wouldn't be too much. The main threat is going to be higher rip currents and waves towards the eastern seaboard of the United States. So if you're planning to surf, go on a boat trip next week along the east coast, you're going to have to be watching out for those waves because they could be quite threatening at times. So we are going to continue to monitor it. I don't think there's a lot of updates at the moment. Could be looking out for more. Hurricane Hunter did do quite a lot of mission today, earlier. They found that the central pressure of the system is down to around 935 millibars, which is very low, and hence why they probably think that this is now a powerful category 4 hurricane. And the winds they found are also quite high, up to 130 knots in some cases, which equivalents to around 145 miles per hour. That sounds scary, but fortunately it's not going to affect land again. So direct impacts to the east coast of the USA is not expected. Indirect impact, including waves, could be seen. So we have to be watching for that. Look at the aircraft recon. It's still pretty much the same. They did find it that the northern portion of the system has much more stronger winds, including those major hurricane force zone, is all concentrated towards the northern side of the system, which is why the southern side, including the Leeward Islands and Puerto Rico, isn't really feeling that much of an impact of the stronger winds, but they are swallowing up quite a lot of rainfall at the moment, and that will continue throughout the weekend, unfortunately, and we do expect some localized flooding to occur in that region. That's why we have to be cautious. We will update you if there's any new things, and we will give it a rest for now. I'll be back at around 9:30. Thank you. Well, we got some really big updates here. The hurricane hunters, they just went in to the center of the system and they found a minimum pressure of 926 millibar. That is shocking. And that, I mean, flight level wind of around 156 knots. So at flight level, it has 180 miles per hour winds. And so on the surface, it could already have category 5 winds. And that's absolutely incredible. I mean, I haven't seen something like that for a long time. That speed of intensification. This is truly an astonishing tropical cyclone. And we have really got ourselves a big one here. I might upgrade it to a category 5 on my own before the National Hurricane Center does. That is crazy. Yeah, I might. I'm still looking for more details on that. So if flight level winds is around 180 miles per hour, uh, is a really, really powerful storm, and we are so grateful that it's not affecting any land at the moment. Because if it's affecting land at this intensity, I don't even know what's going to happen. It's definitely going to be one of the worst you ever see if it does affect land, but it isn't. And nobody's watching at the moment, so I'm just going to not say anything until someone does watch it. Because welcome back to Weatherghost live stream. It's the 16th August 2025, 9:55 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're tracking Hurricane Erin as it has rapidly intensified into a extremely powerful Category 4 hurricane, with winds in the latest advisory estimated to have around 155 miles per hour. That is only 5 miles per hour away from being a Category 5 hurricane. So it already became the first hurricane, the first major hurricane, and now it could become the first Category 5 hurricane of the season. And look at the latest forecast. According to the National Hurricane Center, it could reach winds of up to 165 miles per hour. That is Category 5 hurricane status. That is going to happen within the next 24-ish hours. Probably going to happen in the next 12 hours, to be honest, according to its speed of intensification. That is likely the case. Now look at the satellite imagery. You can see it has a very compact eye structure. The temperatures of the highest cloud tops around the eye structure has already rapidly decreased to -70 or even -80 in some instances. Look at that, it's so compact, so structured, that shows every sign of it being a powerful hurricane. And I think the eye temperature is also going to be rising continuously, as normally if a hurricane is powerful, the eye temperature is going to be high and the eye wall temperature is going to be very low, and that seems like the case right now. If you look at the close-up of the center of the system, you can see just how structure the center is and how strong those convection are, a strong circulation around the center, and a very cleared out eye. Indeed, it's a very small eye. That's normally how strong, powerful hurricane looks, with a tiny eye and a very strong eyeball. That's how it looks. And let's look at the wind radius. You can see the northern bit of the tropical storm force wind radius stretches much more than the tropical storm force wind radius towards the south. It's a very elongated one here, and that's why we call this one to be a lucky case, because we got all the island nations towards the south of the system. We got the Leeward Islands, Puerto Rico, and they just about escaped tropical storm force wind. And if Erin is located towards the south of these islands, those stronger wind field is going to be able to cover those places, those islands and regions, and that will be much more dangerous. And we are really grateful that this isn't the case right now. Of the stronger winds being kept offshore, the main threat to land currently is winds and waves. Waves up to 2 meters could be affecting the coastline, particularly at the northern part of the Leeward Island and Puerto Rico. And we also have rainfall that could be up to 2 inches that could occur in the next 48 hours. And this is the wind forecast. You can see winds going to be picking up over this weekend, but it's going to be kept below tropical storm force wind, and it's going to expand in size as it moves towards the northern part of the Atlantic Ocean, which is going to help it to push all those waves and possibly rainfall towards the eastern seaboard of the United States. And that's going to be indirect impacts, we could call it. And this is all the rain forecast. You can see the brightest color is going to be kept offshore. It's going to be kept in the Atlantic Ocean. And in the next, let's take a look at the next 48 hours first before we go too far. In the next 48 hours, we could see up to 2 inches of rain being dropped across the Leeward Islands and Puerto Rico. And in the next 72 hours, next 72 hours, addition of probably 0.25 more inches to be dropped, and then the rainfall is going to be really decreasing after that. And look at that, when we enter the week after next week, that's really far away. 252 hours away from now, there could be another tropical cyclone developing in the Caribbean Sea. That could be our next tropical cyclone. That's going to bring much more rainfall comparing to Erin, and we'll be watching for that one in our future tropical outlooks. And this is the wave forecast. Let's go back to earlier status right now. So in the next 2 to 3 days, we could be seeing a rise in waves across the Leeward Island, Puerto Rico, even the Dominican Republic and Haiti, up to 3 meters in Haiti. That could be a bit dangerous. And also, you can see all those waves, the area of these waves, you know, sorry, um, the affected areas of these waves is going to start increasing as we go into next week. That's because Erin's going to expand in size. You can see 2 meters of weight expected across the eastern seaboard of the USA, and possibly even up to 3 meters if along, I think that's the North Carolina coast. That's going to be quite dangerous. So if you're planning any water activity next week along the east coast, you might have to watch out for all those rising rip currents that could be slightly more threatening. This is the model forecast. You can see most models actually now calling for a category 5 hurricane status. Most of them expecting around 140 knots winds as peak intensity. The peak could come in the next 24 hours, and it will gradually drop as we enter early next week. But the decrease of the wind speed or weakening trend of the system is going to be kept quite slow. The progress is going to be gradual. By around 2 to 3 days later, it could still be a category 3 or even 4 hurricane, so it could maintain that strong intensity for a longer time than probably what we initially expected before. And so hence why when it's expanding in size with all that wind speed and that intensity, it could really cause a pretty broad effect in terms of the generation of waves. And so we're going to have to be watching for that. This is the National Hurricane Center cone. You can see it's expecting to maintain as a major hurricane up until early Wednesday. So in the next 4 to 5 days, it will still be a major hurricane. And then it will, look at that track. It's going to be shifting towards the northeast. I mean the northwest, more towards the north, then towards the northeast later. Right now, it's still currently moving towards the northwest, and by Monday, it could begin to be that northwest north, more northern trajectory could be seen earlier next week, and that will take it away from land, luckily, away from Bahamas, the east coast of the US. Hopefully, it will maintain this track that just allows it to skip between the Bermuda and the eastern coast of the US. But if it does take a track closer to Bermuda, it could bring some really significant impacts there. And of course, if it takes a track more towards the US East Coast, it could affect some really populated area of land. And so we hope this is the best case scenario. This is the best case scenario right now, you know, passing between Bermuda and the eastern coast of the US, because the impacts on land will be kept quite minimal. So current morning, St. Martin and St. Barthélemy, I think that's how you read it, I can't pronounce it properly, and St. Martin is currently under the tropical storm watch. I think that will be lifted very soon because the chances of tropical storm force wind is really dropping, and this is the latest graph. You can see most of the Greater Antilles are kept below 15%, 5-10% for the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands, and around 10% for the eastern coast of the Bahamas, and then around 20% for Bermuda at this moment. And we hope it will keep as a low chance because, you know, we don't want any strong winds affecting those areas. And currently it's actually quite low, nothing above 50%, at least. Everything's kept below 30%, so that's good. And the latest aircraft recon, took a sample, and then you can see this is what it came back with, 926 millibars. That is a really, really low pressure, signaling a very powerful tropic cyclone we have here. And look at all those winds again, a very elongated wind field. Most of the strong winds concentrated towards the north of the system, which makes it a very subsided system, and hence why we are calling it a lucky scenario, because all those land is located towards the south of the system, which makes the weaker winds affecting it, the stronger winds being kept along in the ocean. So we are looking at here the forecast from the European model. Let's fast forward to right now. You can see it's still showing a pretty elongated system throughout the next few days, and then it will gradually get rid of that trait whilst it expands in size. You see the European model expecting pressure around now is 46 millibars, but that is definitely an underestimation because right now the pressure is already at 926, and you can see it's continue to expand in size, and then by around, I think that's Wednesday, it will have moved between Bermuda and the US East Coast. The European model expecting it to still have pressure of 935 millibars by Wednesday, and then it will gradually turn extratropical as it moves. So we'll continue to be watching the system to develop, and we will bring it back to the music.